Neighbors assaulted me and took my daughter, later returned her because of suspected attempt to drink and drive. Male, late 20s, co. I quit drinking soda and energy drinks a few months ago. I haven't consumed alcohol in years, and I replaced that habit with drinking Martinelli sparkling apple juice. The juice comes in 10-ounce glass bottles that look very similar to Corona beer bottles. Here lies my issue. This morning I was walking to my car from my apartment, and I had a bottle of my juice in one hand and my 1-year-old daughter in her car seat in the other hand. My neighbors basically jumped me from behind. One grabbed my daughter's car seat and the other was punching, kicking, and yelling at me. He was saying stuff like the nerve of you to drink and try to drive with your baby. As a result, my juice bottle shattered in the parking lot, cutting my hand. My cell phone screen is destroyed, and I think my nose is fractured. Most importantly, the neighbor who took my baby went inside his apartment with her, and it took 10 minutes of me explaining through the screen door that I was not about drink and drive, but that I was drinking apple juice. This all just happened. I'm calling the cops. Any suggestions? By the way, I didn't get any apologies or anything from the neighbors. They said they were doing their duty to protect the community. Update. The police showed up. As soon as they pulled up, more than a half dozen neighbors came out and are giving witness reports. Update number 2. Both men were arrested, and I will be making my way down to the police station in a few minutes. I will be talking to detectives. The police assured me, off the record, that both will be serving time because felonies were committed. Employer lured me with an offer letter that has terms that are impossible to meet. I graduated from pharmacy school in June of 2018, and I was hired by a pharmacy chain to work in California. I went to school in a nearby state and had to move for this job. My offer letter says that I have 90 days from graduation to get licensed. It is not possible to get a pharmacist license within 90 days of graduation in California. The process takes about 4 months. I was verbally told by my district manager that the letter is the same in every state and that they don't enforce that 90-day rule. I moved, passed all the tests, and got licensed in October. I was put on the schedule for only 16 hours each week. The schedule is for several weeks ahead. I brought it to the attention of our scheduler and the district leader. I was told that I might get more hours at some point if I learn to work more efficiently. I pointed out that my offer letter says full-time work. He says the term isn't legally defined, and it can be whatever the company defines as full-time. He also said that the offer letter was void because I didn't get licensed within 90 days. He said that if I work with more urgency and get my speed-based metrics up, then everything will be just fine for me. Is he correct about all this? I went on the company website and they define full-time as 30+ hours in order to get health benefits. I don't know a lot about the law, but it feels like it would be illegal to lure people with an offer letter that they know has requirements that are impossible. The Board of Pharmacy has lots of documents available online which show that a 90-day requirement is impossible to meet. Force marriage of a minor, me, to a full-grown adult. I'm 16 years old and my family is forcing me to marry a 27 years old guy. He actually expressed his interest in me when I was 13 years old. It's so messed up, and he is definitely a pedophile. But the marriage is going to be this January and I'm considering running away because I cannot do this. Any suggestions on what I can do? This takes place in Australia NSW if that matters. Please help. Update final. Tenant is renting out my apartment on Airbnb. Tenant isn't responding. Airbnb doesn't care, and my condo board is threatening to fine me for each violation. I have no idea how to even handle this. Location: Toronto, Ontario. Original post. Follow-up number 1. Follow-up number 2. Officially as of today, Jean has vacated my apartment and building management has changed the locks. We were able to come to a signed agreement where she agreed to vacate the property within 7 days if I refunded her last 2 months of rent. $4,200 sign, which I did. Honestly, between this and my other legal fees, I'm basically in the hole, and I would have been better off not having anyone rent my apartment. I talked to someone who was doing a story on Jane, and they were able to confirm that she apparently works for a company rents out places on Airbnb. Said person who was doing a story basically told me they weren't going to pursue this anymore due to time concerns. She isn't a grad student, nor is she even a student. I don't feel like I won, and honestly I just feel absolutely infuriated with the entire situation. Airbnb to this day still has my place being listed on Airbnb. Who knows why she doesn't have keys anymore. My apartment is a disaster right now, and from what my property manager has stated, it seems like people definitely did smoke in my apartment. There are burns on my couch from cigarette, my dishwasher is broken, and pretty much everything needs a desperate deep clean. But my apartment is safe more or less. Anyways, I wanted to thank everyone for your advice. It probably isn't the best ending, but it taught me an extremely valuable lesson, and I can go home at Christmas and hopefully clean my apartment. Police mistakenly entered my apartment. The high-rise I live in has an east and a west tower. Yesterday afternoon, LAPD came to my door, announced who they were, and then proceeded inside. They put me up against the wall in handcuffs while they searched my apartment. This whole time, I'm confused as to what is going on. The officer restraining me said it was a fire alarm. After a couple of minutes of trying to get an explanation why I'm in handcuffs against the wall for a fire alarm, another officer says that there was a bomb threat called into my address. I ask them, what is the address? And they mention my unit number, but of course the address was the other tower across the street. They called into dispatch to confirm, and just as fast as they entered, they said I was free to go and just left. It was a pretty messed up and stressful situation. What is the protocol for police errors like this? I think my 3-year-old is being sexually abused at daycare. X post from Reparenting. Originally posted in Reparenting, but it was suggested I post here. Edit per bot request. We are in California. My son has been in the same church-run daycare preschool for about a year. At the time, we didn't love the place, but we were desperate because I needed to go back to work, and it was the only place that would work with my part-time schedule. We didn't love it because it didn't seem as academic as others, but he was only 2, so we let it go. He seems to really like it there. Most days he doesn't even say goodbye to me. He just runs into whichever room they have set up and starts playing. He seems to like some kids and teachers more than others, but that seems normal enough. He occasionally has clingy mornings, but they are pretty rare and seem to correlate with story time on Fridays, but not every Friday. I'm not sure if some of his new behaviors are unusual or just par for the course for a toddler teenager. He never used to mind diaper changes, but started kicking and screaming during them sometimes. After he started at the daycare, he's always been a strong-willed kid, but screaming I don't want to and put me down are things he picked up at daycare for whatever reason. I thought it was odd that the church pastor would be reading to the kids sometimes when I dropped my kid off on Fridays, and even weirder that he sometimes had kids in his lap, but the teachers were always there, and it was always a group activity. We had some concerns, but nothing concrete, and more that he was learning to hit push than anything worse. Until today, we finish up dinner and I get the bath ready for our 1-year-old, leaving the 3-year-old at the dinner table with my husband. I'm minding my business, bathing the baby, when my husband comes into the bathroom to relay something the 3-year-old just did and said. It should be noted that our toddler doesn't yet speak in complete sentences or fully respond when asked questions. X, what did you do at school today? Gets no answer. While did you paint at school today? God is an appropriate yep or nope. Our toddler had finished his dinner, and, after we had cleaned up his plate, he asked for peanut butter pretzels, one of his favorite snacks. Normally, we'd say no, but he'd been a good kid all day, so my husband said sure. But cheek kiss first, and leaned into our normally very affectionate kiddo. Our son slapped my husband across the face and said no. Pretzels now. Not great, but not out of the ordinary for him after a long day. We don't hit our kids, but he definitely struggles with hitting when he's frustrated. He did say this twice and then said get candy. My husband said no candy right now and then asked, do you get candy at school? Our son then grabbed 2 of my husband's fingers, rubbed the tips with his fingers several times, said it's round and then licked them repeatedly. He did this several times. Just typing this is making me nauseous again. My husband asked if that's how he got candy and our son repeated the behavior motion and then put his finger to his lips and said shhhh. Then put his other pointer finger to my husband's lips and said shhhh. We only ever use shhh to comfort them when crying and have never put our fingers to his or our lips. My husband tried to gently ask more questions, but our son just mumbled nonsense and then asked to get out of his high chair. My husband came and told me immediately, and we got the baby out of the tub and tried to talk to the toddler again, but he'd moved on and just wanted to go sit on the couch. We didn't know what to do. This was around 7:30 p.m., so we called local PD dispatch, and they sent over an officer who just told us to speak to the director of the school. I've tried searching this sub and others, and have come across a few sort of related posts, but I have no idea what to do. Local resources open in the morning, and we have already told our workplaces that we won't be in tomorrow due to a family emergency, but we don't know where to start. I can't in good conscience send him back there again. Are we overreacting? Do we just confront the director? How do we handle this? I obviously don't know what or who exactly, but this definitely seems off. Any thoughts or advice would be appreciated. Edit. First, thanks to everyone for their supportive messages and comments, and for taking the time to reply. We are truly blown away by your kindness and thoughtful words. We are also very grateful for all of the advice. Second, an update. Our son didn't go to the school today and will not return in the future. We didn't contact the school and we don't plan to at all. We'll be out our deposit, but it's worth it at this point. I have another center that we will be touring next week, but we are also prepared for me to stay home with the kiddos for a while. This morning my husband called CPS, and they said they only handle situations where the abuser is in the home. Next, he called the state licensing board and filed a complaint. The school has an otherwise squeaky clean record, but we were assured they would be opening up an investigation and interviewing every employee at the school. Finally, we called and then visited the local family advocacy center, basically relevant charities, social workers, law enforcement, etc. under one roof. We met with a social worker and recounted the same points as above. When she was done taking notes, she called one of the on-site detectives who confirmed that without actual evidence, i.e. a verbal description of something from our son or physical evidence, there was nothing he could do. Without the cops getting involved, we will not be referred to a forensic psychologist or have the situation otherwise escalated. As frustrating as that is, we are almost fortunate in a way that that type of evidence doesn't seem to exist, or that we stepped in before it did. As many of you said, both the detective and the social worker agreed that the cop that came by yesterday handled it very poorly, but that there was nothing they could do about that either. The social worker mentioned that our son seemed to be a happy kid, not the withdrawn or angry type she's seen in more serious situations. We were referred to a center that specializes in play-based therapy that we will be following up with as well. If anything comes out during those sessions, the situation will be handed over to the authorities at that time. I think that covers everything that happened today. My husband had to go back to work, so I've been at home on the couch cuddling my kiddos. If there are any developments, I'll update again, but that is it for now. Thank you again for everything, Reddit. You truly came through in our time of need. Landlord sent a crew to clean out an adjacent unit, but they accidentally cleaned out my storage building and trashed everything. They said the best they can offer me is a $50 gift card. My downstairs neighbor in the house I rent moved out, and the landlord sent a crew to clean out the unit. They mistakenly cleaned out a shared outdoor storage space that contained only my belongings, including 2 bikes, a lawnmower, a vacuum, and any number of tools and household items. After pestering my landlord, they located and returned the lawnmower, claiming that it had been broken and someone from the turnkey company had taken it home and fixed it. It was working just fine, and actually works worse now. When I pressed them about the other contents of the building, they gave the response in the image below. They claimed the bikes were not working. Not true, they were, and that since everything looked like trash the best they could do was a $50 Amazon gift card. I responded saying that this amount would not cover the loss, and now they are ghosting me. Do I have sufficient grounds to take any kind of legal action? Landlord's response: I'm apparently getting fined $5K for asking a woman to show her service dog's papers at my job. Manager told me to. What happens if I refuse to give up $5K? I only have $6K to my name. Georgia. This happened at 9 AM. I got served papers at 2:45 PM. My manager told me to ask the woman if it was a service dog. BC it was jumping on the counter and acting like a regular dog. I'm in my 20s. This woman appeared in her 60s. She said the dog's vest was at home, and by law she can sue us for asking for service dog papers. WTF.